this is it. So
I'll add kind of what Adam was saying is like, and I'm much less, involved, I guess, or, at least when I started, as far as educating and everything else, my starting point was after, I'm kind of comparing myself to Adam here, but, after him, whatever, knew very, very little. I think in general, it was one of those things where, as a young adult, right, whether, it's 18, 19, 20, whatever, most people, the average person, whatever, is going to try to save a little bit of what they have, and they want to try to invest that. You hear about investing, you're not really taught about it in high school. None of that stuff like really comes up, right? And so as you become, 18, 19, 20, whatever, through conversations and stuff, you start understanding the importance of investing. And so bottom line is, all right, whatever I'm making paycheck to paycheck, whatever extra I have, whatever, I want to try to invest it in this, invest it in something else, get a return, whatever, right? And I think, for me, like I said, it was last year, but I think as, the crypto landscape, whatever, started to grow and build and everything else, it became one of those things. It's like, all right, if I'm going to take a risk at any point, if I'm going to add risk to, my portfolio, to diversify, like it's probably going to be this. And then I think one of the other things, kind of what Adam was saying, is like, all right, I'm going to take a risk. It's going to be crypto. I'm going to put some money into that, whatever, based on, your thoughts, how educated you are and everything else. And then moving forward, it was like what Adam was saying, if I'm going to put money into something that is a risk, let me at least understand the risk. And so then as you start to understand and educate it more, honestly becomes less of a risk. You're like, wait, like this really isn't that risky if you, take a step back and think about it. So, you think it's a risk when you first get in, and then the more that you read about it and try to understand it, that risk is lowered. And then all that put together, kind of what Adam was saying, it's like, if you can understand on a micro level, like what each coin is doing and blockchain technology and all that, if you can kind of get a grasp of that, it's like, all right, in general, there really isn't that big of a risk here. Like, this is supposed to work. It's going to work. And then big picture is just, go back 10 years ago and think about how technology and money and finances and banks and everything worked then, and then go back 20 years ago. And then, there's people in 2005, 2010 that, look back like, man, like, what if I would have just bought 500 shares back then? Or like, dang, if I would have done this, whatever. And everyone's going to say that every 10, 15, 20, 30 years, like, man, I wish I would have bought Facebook. Man, I wish I would have bought Amazon stock, whatever. And so now I think that there is a little bit of that opportunity with it just being such a new universe, going back to 16, 17, whatever. It's only been 4 or 5 years. So on, a real level, it's like, all right, if I can get in now and I can understand it, there's really the only thing is upside, and your risk is, lowered.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on there. I think that we've all experienced that level of comfort. I think even if you're investing in something that's hypothetically a scam, you can get caught up in that as well, right? But the confirmation of some of the countries, like Adam mentioned, the corporations, the other partnerships that, I'm sorry about the South Boulevard in Charlotte is a disaster with the noise. And it's funny is because people keep driving it. We'll go on a tangent here, and they're totally building it up. Like they're taking away all of the South End beauty and buying up all the stuff and building it taller, and there's traffic all the time. Anyway, but bringing up, yeah, I mean, yeah, we love South End though. We do love South End, but we like the original touches of it too. But you both made excellent points on those partnerships, and we started talking about like that initial, all right, here's an asset going up. Now we talked about some of those partnerships, and then certainly from my perspective, and creating constant collab with Braulio and getting you guys involved, and shout out to Adam and Alex, who are really the brains and masters behind our logo, which is pretty dope. It became more than just like everybody wished they do it. It became like a very clear thing, and I think with the stock market or some of those other ones, like nobody got to the point of like, okay, just buy the market, right? They bought specific companies and got burned a few times. Some people have participated in like Enron and stuff like that, and then we graduate and move on to this market, and we have like this feeling of foresight that we just discussed. That's like, we're all going to feel this way in 20 or whatever years, or 10 years, or whatever our long-term projections are. So why aren't my parents in this? Why aren't my my peers in this. You know, I don't want to be sitting on a boat by myself type experience, right? And so, you know, certainly those vibes really got to me after a while. And you know, I remember I had some Ripple and some other assets in 2019, and I remember Ripple going to 50 cents in like June of 2019, and I was like, well, if it's this easy, you know, and it's this clear, why aren't we sharing this? Um, that's come with some penalties, right? I mean, certain I know, you know, certain some of my peers and follow groups are both tired of me talking about it and or have already unfollowed, you know, me on certain aspects. Sure, that's fine. You know, it's not really something that really triggers me to an extent, but you can see how I'm just talking about how you can see how it's perceived, right? It's not sexy. Nobody wants to talk about it. They're all at that scam stage that we were at before. And so
Mhm.
it kind of just crushes you because, you know, especially with my parents and like certain family members and some of my friend groups, I mean, it's just like, you know, I'm just trying to help us all here. And, you know, right or wrong, we're all doing our own due diligence. But when you see XRP partnered with 50 of the top 100 banks in the world, when you see PwC introducing VeChain's blockchain, when you see Ethereum giving anybody access to their coins from an open source platform, when you see, you know, all this stuff happening, you can't help but be like, you know, this is it, right? This is another industrial revolution of sorts, and I'm pissed, right? And so, Alex, you want to start? Like, you had any of those experiences where like you're just trying to, you know, share the sauce a little bit, and you know it doesn't really go
Yeah.
as planned.
Yeah. I've shared that with you, Matt, and Adam. It's just, yeah, like you said, some of those days it just gets to you. Um, yeah, I mean, I've had, a friend group from college, but, we got a group chat that we text in every day. This is like a general point, but like it's hard, kind of what you were saying, Brian. Like it's hard to talk about crypto and not sound like there's just are people out there that sound like complete douchebags and like losers when you're talking about it. And if that's a general consensus about like, oh, there's these guys where, oh yeah, all they do is talk about crypto, whatever, and then you start to talk about it, you bring it up, like it's sometimes it is hard to not sound like, I don't know if douchebag's like the right word, but not to sound just like this nerd that's high and mighty or like not humble, and it just comes off the wrong way. I think that is just a general concept when people talk about crypto, if you are someone that isn't in that space, right?
Well, they
Like
get
the
a
easy
little
way
excited.
out.
You get a little excited, right? I mean,
Yeah, like that's just the easy way out. Like if you're somebody that's not in the space, it's just like, oh my gosh, like another one of these guys, whatever. Or the other way out is just to be like, it's fake, it doesn't exist, oh, I don't understand it, whatever. And then that's just, it's, if you're somebody who's on the outside, the easiest thing to do is just put on blinders and be like, all right, no, I don't want to think differently, I don't want to think outside the box, I'll just stay on my own lane. And then the easy way is just to call out the other guy, ostracize them, make them feel like the outcast, whatever. And so those are kind of just general points. But then, yeah, talking, about this group chat, it's like anytime you bring it up or talk about it or whatever, and it's not in like this way that's, you guys are like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, why are you not doing this? Or like going at them at all. It's just simply like, hey guys, like, this exists, this stuff is out there. There's, real opportunity here. Like, this is kind of what's going on. Like, does any like just kind of putting stuff out there that's like, hey, if anyone wants to talk about it or think like about it, whatever, have a conversation. I don't know everything at all. I know very, very little compared to even you two and lots of other people. But it's like, hey, like I know enough. Like, do you want to at least, have a conversation about it or talk about it, whatever. And pretty much every time it's gone in the direction of like, one, just no, and then two, like making fun of it and being like, oh, it's not real. There's all this fake shit out there, and just kind of like laughing at it. And like I said, putting on blinders and brushing it off. And to me, it's just like that's just the most ignorant, ignorant approach, and just the easy way out is just to ostracize the person that's bringing it up.
Right. I mean, I've definitely had like similar encounters, and I think like certainly for me when I try to, I guess bring it like, and I know with a lot of these audiences, like Alex and I are talking about, it's when these, it's not like nobody who doesn't have an existing baseline understanding of like finances and like the stock market, and like you're not talking to nobody, right? Like they understand, like they're smart people. And the thing that really I guess is frustrating from our end is when you're trying to it's not even like persuasion. Like I feel like I'm not, it's literally educational, and you're trying to just teach somebody or show somebody or like just present the opportunity to them. And again, it almost ends up like you're giving a sales pitch, but it's like, you're dealing with smart people and people that understand money and understand how like, these different vehicles will work. And it's frankly just ends up as being like, I don't care and I don't want to know. And that's like what is most frustrating, is because it's like when, I mean, it's like with fitness, it's like with nutrition, like you can't, nobody, if they don't want to learn it themselves, then you're basically, your hands are tied, you're stuck. You might as well stop wasting your time. And all you can really do is try. And again, it comes from a good place. It's not like you're not trying to annoy anybody. You're not like trying to get in anybody's ear. You're not trying to pester people with stuff, but it's like, listen, we're like, and especially when it's like friends and it's people that you're close with. And it's like, I want this for you as much as I want it for me too. And, again, you just get down the road of trying to bring it up or talk about it organically, and it's just immediately shut down, or it gets, made fun of, or, you know, really people would just talk out of their ass and not, again, like I've heard it's been called scam, just crypto in general. We're not even talking about specific things, but it's a scam, or they'll reference like Bitcoin, the first, when Satoshi with his white paper and things like that, where it's like, it was, I mean, and it was, but it was made up, and like certain things have no utility, or they'll reference specific projects like Shiba Inu or Doge or the what's the Netflix show, Squid Game. Like they'll reference those coins that where people get wiped out, or where frankly they have no utility and they have a never-ending supply. And then those things, it's like, when you reference one specific thing to really prove your point, and that's your reason for never starting. And it's incredibly frustrating. And again, when I go to pitch that to people, and I say like I do it like daily, but whenever I go to do it, it's like it is still, because we're so early, and it becomes like primarily like conviction based. And I never try to like flaunt like heavy returns, or I'm like, look at all the money I've made, or like, I'm showing a 300% return here and a 400% return here. I'm like, I literally will just go from a fundamental standpoint of like trying to teach people what, why these exist, why these projects are in place, what like these native tokens. I mean, obviously they all represent a specific blockchain or a specific project. And it's like, even trying to do that, you just get shut down, and you get shut down, and you get shut down, and it becomes frustrating because you frankly just want to stop. And it's like, again, it comes from a place of trying to help other people. And I really do phrase it as if it's like a humanitarian thing. And I think that sounds a little, far-fetched, but I don't want to be in 10 years, at some, again, I mean, I believe in it. So it's like, I don't want to be, at some level or at some place. And then like, I want my friends to be there too. Right. And it just becomes incredibly frustrating when you're always met with that,
Opposition.
Right. So
Twins.
Finish that one for him there. Yeah. You guys made such excellent points there. I think, some of the things that really triggered me first here, and I brought this up, as we mentioned, some of our peers who give you a hard time, right? But here we got, this guy, Tim Cook, just giving you the deuces, as he says he owns cryptocurrency, right? So, follow the smart money. If you don't believe Alex or Adam, you can believe Tim Cook or Elon Musk or somebody else who owns crypto, or NBA players are wearing their NFTs on their shoes right now. So CNBC is not going to talk about that or any of the developments that are happening behind the scenes. You really have to be paying attention, right? The other thing I wanted to really mention here is, Adam, you really made some really good points about the understanding of just the global economy in general. And it's my impression, I'll be 30 in 12 days. So, after spending just the 6 or 7 years I have in corporate America, especially with my compliance background, and now that I spend all of my days as, I work as a software consultant. I spend all of my days learning about how Fortune 1500 companies use my software. And through that, you learn a lot about just transactions, not just businesses paying each other, but processes within an organization. They're transacting different things, right? And they're doing different things. And when I see some of the FUD that I see, especially from some of the mainstream folks that talk about different things like institutional adoption and things like that, I truly don't think they understand the magnitude of the global economy, what a $90 trillion global stock market means, what the global money supply and all these available liquidity amounts across valuations, I guess, across the world really attribute to, and how small we are in these projects at this stage. And then the efficiency of the projects is 1,000 times more than the ones that are operating now. And so it's to the points we've made, it's certainly a matter of time. And you can put in a stop loss. I think we're all in profit now, right? You can take your money off the table whenever you want. But certainly, we're in this because it's going to keep going and going and going, and adoption will continue, and we want these folks to be involved.
Going off that, Brian, like I think one of the things is, as you try to communicate this to people, organically that aren't in the space or have no skin in the game, it's like going back, and we've used this analogy like 100 times, and very, very broad analogy, but it's like going back, in the 80s and 90s when the internet was first being talked about or started. And obviously just the internet, that space in general, obviously opened the doors to 100 different things, Microsoft and all these, different companies and everything else that were built just because the internet existed. And so now we're kind of in that shift where it's like, okay, the blockchain exists, right? And then there's all these different things now in cryptocurrencies that are going to exist because of that.
If you want my big opinion here, though, I feel like we're still, from a blockchain perspective, we're still in that AOL's for free in the grocery store stage. You know what I'm saying?
No, right. And like, that's my whole point is like, as you're talking about this, I thought I was late like last year. I know Adam like thought that he was late. I'm sure you thought that, when Braulio told you in Spring Mill, I was like, oh shoot, I'm kind of late. Big picture here, like really not late at all, like still very, very early stages. And so if you have that understanding, it's like, as you try to communicate this with other people, it's like, guys, like, come on, like the people that are old now that thought the internet and everything else was, dumb, fake, fraud, whatever, back in like the 80s and 90s, like dumb as shit.
Bro, my grandpa texted me back in like,
what are we doing?
My grandpa texted me back in like a minute tonight. I texted him, was like, hey, just checking in on you. I love you. Text me back on the iPhone. I love you too. Like immediately. And I was like, yeah, like he was shitting on me for being addicted to my phone like 10 years ago. We were all there, and love him though. He can shit on me all he wants. But like
our grandma texts us emojis and shit all the time. Like,
yeah. Now they're mad when we don't text them back.
Any idea what in the 80s, she had any idea what an iPhone was?
Yeah.
Or like what that could even do. So it's just, it's like, sorry, going off what you're saying though, it's just one of those things, you start really talking about it, and then it's like big picture, like, guys, come on. Like, it's like in the 80s, someone telling you like the internet is fake and it doesn't really exist. Why would I get into that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, that's why I don't ever try to pitch like, it's purely educational. It's like, just take the time, and it's, to educate yourself and to learn about like what these things do and what they're for. And like, when you try to, nothing is more annoying than you're just like, buy this, or like, put your money in this. Then you're no different than the guy in, 19.
Like Kishu?
Yeah. You're no different than 1996. You're telling them like, hey, buy Amazon stock, buy Amazon stock, buy Amazon. Like, people aren't going to respond to that. So like, there's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. But, when you're just met with like all of that opposition, it just becomes incredibly frustrating when, guys like us have such a strong conviction about it. And it at times it just becomes incredibly defeating. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's just as easy to throw in the towel. But the reason why we do it, to the points we discussed, is that empathetic, which is kind of a negative, nasty word in some cases, but that strong conviction to help other people, especially the ones we're connected to, that you feel like would listen to you the most. And who listen to you the most? A stranger at the bar in South End when you're 3 beers deep at Pins Mechanical. They will buy crypto on the spot. So if you want to go make an impact, you can go talk to some drinkers out at the bar and be like, hey, instead of buying another beer, I'll buy your next round and you can buy $10 Bitcoin. Now all of a sudden this guy's just staring at Bitcoin all the time, and you got somebody hooked. And, of course, none of this is financial advice. Nobody here is an expert by any means, but this is, again,
Yeah.
you're seeing all the partnerships. We're seeing all the deals being done. We see the Coinstar kiosk at the Martins in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Like, I know you see it there. Like, go in there and dump your coins in there and start somewhere, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that the part that's tough is like you're trying to, when you're trying to tell people about this stuff, it's you can't you can't just throw it out there and then expect people to immediately respond and or respond well. And it's not like people are different, no different than like personal finance is personal. Like the way you handle your investment strategies is like completely like individually based. So I completely understand when people say, excuse me, people say like that's too risky for me, or I don't understand it and that's why I don't want to touch it. I've certainly heard that from people. And again, these people are like heavily invested, stock market stuff, real estate everywhere. And it's just like, listen, crypto's not for me. And like, I will 100% respect that answer 10 times over than the people who are like, it's made up, it's dumb. I just think that's a poor way to deflect, basically you admitting you're uneducated about it. And like, I will, again, like I'll take that answer every single day before, the people who just claim it to be fake and made up. And it's like, when you get the people who respond with, that's too risky for me, it's like, it's not something that I really am ready for yet or whatever. Like, I understand that. And that's where like, I really think because we're in early stages, like when we start to get things like crypto ETFs, or be it through Binance or be it through certain exchanges where they have, ETFs, or they have funds that are made up of different ones in different risks. So I guess this is maybe a poor analogy, but where your bonds, are like your stable coins, and then, your stocks are your altcoins, and then your micro caps are your shit coins. I don't know. So I don't know if that's the best analogy, but I think that's where people would really benefit from at least the risk side of it. Right. And so there's a lot of different reasons why people don't. It's just frankly the part that I really get angry or upset about too. And I do take part of it personal too sometimes, because when they say, quote, like, no, cryptocurrency is stupid, or that stuff's, because I'm so heavily invested into it, and it is a big, huge, conviction for me.
That in turn would make you incredibly stupid.
Right. No. And then it reflects like,
Idiot.
right, you're investing all of your time and your energy into something that we claim is stupid, therefore you are stupid. And it doesn't, that's true for anything, right? But it's like if somebody's going to make fun of a hobby, say, right, and like you play guitar. No, playing guitar is stupid. That's dumb. Well, then I feel like they're calling me stupid. And it's, that's just where you get personally upset and frustrated, right?
Yeah, I've totally taken the subconscious route to that, but you guys sort of brought that in my forefront too. It's just like, man, when my uncle texts me all these FUD articles about the government telling me to sell, I'm like, this guy doesn't want me like holding cryptocurrency by any means. It's like, how do you respond to some of that stuff without being like, listen, I don't need your shit here, right? And so, that's sort of what we've dealt with over the years, right? And so,
and I certainly never sit here where I'm saying like, hey, VeChain's it's going to be the next Ethereum. Like or this is going to surpass Ethereum. This is going to surpass Bitcoin. Like I won't sit there and say that stuff, because you're just promising things that you don't know. And like, certainly back in the 90s, there's all these new tech stocks, and there's, if you invested in Amazon or Apple or Microsoft, right, you're a winner. Like you came out on the good side. So it's like, even within this space, you still want to diversify. And frankly, as with anything, I don't think this is like a dumb thing to say, but like, some of them aren't going to make it. Some of them are. Certainly, you always want to be on the right side of it, and you hope that you're investing in the right ones. But with this stuff, it's like, it takes one or it takes two, and that's like life-changing money. And even if they're not all winners, I think we all know, like in this space, like there's a pretty good chance like you come out on the right side of it, and then you have one or two where they're, they take off, and you just, again, that comes from diversification, like with anything, but you just want to position yourself to take advantage of the opportunity.
I think one of the other things too is, we've been talking about, opportunity cost and, still being like the early stages, whatever. like I don't think the space and as a whole, came this far. It's use the cliche, saying, right? Like, I don't think we came this far to just go this far. It's like there's no way that, whenever, Bitcoin started, and then you have 2016, 17, whatever. There's no way that, like, sitting here 2020, November 2021, that, like, this is as far as we go. And, like, oh, that could crash. It's volatile. Like, it could go way down. Like, look, totally understand that. Totally understand the risk. All that being said, like, we have kiosks where, you can get on, Coinbase, buy Bitcoin here, like all this different stuff. It's like, we didn't come this far to then in, 3 years, the entire space is just, gone or doesn't exist or isn't useful. It's at some point, was it made up? Was it new? Was it, everything else? Yeah. And, like, are we still in early stages? Yeah. But it's not going anywhere. It's not going away. And so I think that's the other, argument that, that's your counter argument that you always want to have to this, opposition, to people that disagree with it. It's like, if they call it fake or they call it dumb or fraud, whatever, it's like, dude, it's not going anywhere. Like, bottom line. So, like, like, what are we doing?
Right.
Like,
And
here, it's here to stay.
right. And the people that claim, it was made up. I mean, and that's a legitimate quote that I've heard, but
just like the Federal Reserve.
Right. Everything was invented. Everything was made up. It's like they're made up. The Model T was invented in 19 whatever because for a reason, like for transportation to move people from A to B. Like, these things are in place for reasons. It's not just so then everyone can dump their money into it, price runs up, and then people sell. It's not. I mean, there's real utility to some of this stuff, and like it's so somebody in Senegal can have access to a bank account and they can have like real tangible value with their money. It's not.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but, like, literally going off exactly what Adam's saying is most of those things back in the day, right? Like, think about, we'll go back to the 1900s, whatever. As things came up, things were invented, things were thought of. Like, these are tangible things. So, like, a Model T, like, okay, I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it. And then, you keep progressing, and, like, quite literally, you have inventions and things that exist and things that help society, all of that, right? And for the most part, throughout, history, technology has progressed. So then we go from tangible things that you can touch and feel and see in front of you to then, as technology has allowed us to, now we have things that exist that you can't see and you can't touch. And quite frankly, a lot of it, sometimes you might not be able to understand because it's not right in front of you and you can't touch it. And so I think the thing with crypto is, like, most people are, like, afraid of that. It's like, okay, if I want to go buy stock in, Apple, like, okay, I know Apple is like, iPhones and stuff like that. And so I think in this space, it's most of those examples like, oh, it's just made up. Well, like, at one point, yeah, like the Model T was just made up, a laptop was just made up, whatever, right? But then, the internet at one point was just this made up thing, but then it existed, and then now we have all this. So I think with crypto, it's like, yeah, at some point was it this made up thing, sure, but it's slowly going to be. We're going to be able to have, tangible things that you can touch and see that are built off that in the next 30 years.
Well said. And, one of my favorite things about it being made up is I'd have to go find, I wonder if I'm logged on to I'm just going to go on Canva real quick here and see if I have this in my recent designs. I made this, I think I made it at work one time. So here we go. Perfect. Made up, right? Is Satoshi Nakamoto made up, right? Because we've got 4 well-known Japanese brands here, right? And some folks like to think it's just the beginning for or the prefix, I guess, of these major companies. So we talked about things being made up, the Model T, the internet, etc. Somebody made Bitcoin, right? And given the fact that we still don't know who it is, like, for example, we still got the Wall Street Journal touting Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, etc., as the quote unquote wealthiest people in the world. I've never agreed with that. And wouldn't, this Satoshi guy be up there? And wouldn't it be cool to, like, see who he is or maybe get some exposure to that? So, as it relates to things being made up, I just realized I didn't even show the viewers that. That's funny. But anyway, I'll just bring that up one more time. Things are made up. Like, that's exactly how it is, and we can't trust this person yet because we don't really know where it's from, but we can see all of this adoption. So like,
One of the points that I want to make too, as far as, like we have the Telegram, group chat, and we talk about that. We have podcasts and discussions and everything else about it. And one of the things that, has came up through conversation is like, oh, like you're an expert, or like what makes you an expert? Like what, not like what gives you the right, but just, where's it, like what makes you an expert? Why do you know this, whatever? And it's like, okay, if I had to rely on anybody for like information, like, yeah, it's probably you, Brian, or people that I know and trust. And then, yeah, like, can you go find truly quote unquote an expert? I don't know, but somebody on Instagram that has, a big following, it's like clearly done their research and is well educated on it. Sure, you have that. And you have these platforms, but then, yeah, one of the things is like, oh, like, are you an expert? What makes you an expert? And it's like, I use the analogy, and I texted you guys like this exact day that it happened. I use the brewery analogy. So it's like you have these breweries,
I
and
love this. I
have,
love this.
you have massive breweries, like call it Anheuser-Busch, whatever. And then you have smaller ones, like trying to think one, like Wicked Weed Brewing in Asheville. I don't know, right? But you have these brewing companies, and they all make beer. And then you also have, like, let's take it, I'll use myself as an example. I make beer at home. So I figured out how to brew it, watched some YouTube videos, bought a little bit of the equipment and stuff, made a couple small batches, gave it to some friends, neighbors, whatever. But yeah, know a little bit about brewing, well educated, started doing, for, a couple small batches, whatever, doing it for, 2, 3 years now in my garage, out in the backyard, whatever. And then you start to, yeah, you have like a decent understanding, kind of do it myself, whatever. And someone's like, hey, if I go to a buddy or a friend, a neighbor, hey, you want to come, try some of this beer or whatever that I made, like, think you might like it. It's pretty good. I know you drink some IPAs every now and then. I made it, mess around, you want to try some. And then they're like, oh no, like the beer's made up. That's stupid. And then it's like, so then you're just kind of like, all right, like whatever. And then their next thing is like, what makes you an expert on beer? Like what gives you the right, what makes you an expert? And it's like, I'm not really an expert. I don't know much, but like, been doing it for a couple of years, pretty well educated. Like, I know more than you, and I'm not even trying to force it on you. Like, you just want to come try some beer, one, and then two, talk about it, have a discussion, whatever. And so that whole analogy relating to crypto is like, it's not being forced at all. Like, do you want to talk about it? And then when one of those other arguments that I'm trying to say here is, one of those arguments is, what makes you an expert? Like, oh, how do you know so much? Why would I listen to you? And it's like, dude, if I've been doing it for a little while, like, I don't know much, but like, just trying to organically talk about it. So,
well, and the reason why we organically talk about it, admittedly, one of the major reasons I was like, we should get this group chat and get more people in it. Like, what if somebody researches a project we haven't been researching and like shares it with us, and then like we make some money off of this too, right? And like, yeah, obviously, like what you put in, you hope comes out. And so when you share with your friends like this, like they'll be like, yeah, actually, I was looking at crypto, but I'm looking at the metaverse. Like, imagine one of your friends tells you that, and you're in Sandbox or Axie Infinity or one of those other metaverse stocks when they were still really low. I mean, those were the ones that just blew up in front of our faces. And so, we're networking and we're searching for these people to make sure that we're not being biased. I mean, I don't really have a problem being biased with, like, especially with Ripple or VeChain or at this point because of their partnerships. If the news wants to tell me they were all fake tomorrow, that's on me, but the proof's in the pudding, right? I mean, we've certainly discovered that, and so finding more pudding is easier when you have more people, and good teams and good networks are proof of that. And so, yeah, that's kind of my point there.
Yeah, you can definitely, and stuff like this where it's, new, and like having a team and having people that are doing it together, like, I mean, I know it sounds extremely cliche, but like, it helps. And it's like, it's much easier when you can, at that point, it's, I don't want to say shared adversity, but it's shared risk. And it's
like just us, the Ville, right? We gotta put in the sweat and tears, right?
Yeah. And it's, you share the positives too. Like when you're winning, everybody's winning, right? When you're losing, I mean, that sucks, but at least everybody else is there with you. And it's like, again, from a as we evolve and as things continue on and there's new projects, or there's, like you said, there's things we don't know about. It's, when you're trying to do it by yourself and you're just, I mean, sometimes you're guessing, sometimes, and it's a much harder way to do it. It's a much harder way to go about it. And, it's funny because like those same people, like they'll have no problem when, they'll send it. I mean, sometimes I think it's funny, but like they'll send a random stock or they'll send something. And I mean, you would hope that they did their research and it's educated, and then you would hope you would do your own too. But, they have no problem with that. There's no problem like sending like, and I know even Alex and I know we have another friend where we'll very frequently, most of the same holdings that we have, like we all share, right? So there's certain companies too where we're, the market closes and we say, X stock is up today. And then, because
we got Palantir, we got some Palantir in there. We got some, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, you'll have one there you share and it just becomes like I don't want to say camaraderie, but shit with us three, like I certainly feel that way.
Yeah, you're all rowing the boat in the same way. You're all kind of pulling for it. I mean,
right.
space goes up, 11%. It's like, you text at the end of the day, like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
All right. So, that was a really good conversation. Do you guys have like any last words, any closing lines, any of maybe your favorite project or what you're most interested in seeing? And, I guess from my last statement is, it's been kind of, I guess, a weird experience for me to realize that, we can sort of just, the stocks are harder for me, but it's mentally, because could Palantir fade? Sure. I don't think it will. I think Palantir is certainly like a crypto nugget of sorts as it relates to your ability to get paid on whatever cadence you get paid and just buy the shit out of, some of these assets. And again, none of this is financial advice. So just want to keep continuing to outlaw or promote that disclaimer, because you got to do your own DD on Palantir. You got to do your own DD on these cryptos. But for me personally, when I have the free cash flow, I can just go in and buy XRP or Casino Coin or VeChain or anything that I've been buying and be perfectly content with it, knowing that in 5 or 10 years, it'll be way better off. I mean, we've all seen the $5 cup of coffee analysis on, the last year or two. So in a bear market, that becomes 3 years worth of coffee instead of 1, but, potato.
Right. No, there's, like with anything, there's different strategies, there's different ways to go about it. Even in, I guess, a riskier space like crypto, it's, in general, yeah, it's a lot more volatile. There's a lot more risk associated with some of it. And, certainly much smaller, market caps with different things. But, I just, I try to encourage people to educate first. And like, once you can get past that and you can kind of wrap your head around like, the purpose, at that point really just becomes, you have your blue chips, you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, and like certainly just a way in a broad sense between stock, real estate, any investment vehicle is you can diversify specifically from those, and then you can diversify within this space. And I know for us, there's certain ones that we like, there's certain ones that I guess we believe in long term, and like those are the ones you're going to throw a lot more of your money at whenever you have it. And then again, with smaller market caps, with altcoins, and with I don't really touch shit coins. That's a personal preference, certainly not advice. But there's different ways to go about it. Once you do, it's really I think it's just dipping your toe in the water. I certainly had the same. Again, I just try to compare it to the stock market stuff, because I do feel like people that are at least going to be watching this or listening to this, it's like, I just try to relate it to something first that is more understandable or more relatable. And it's like with index funds, or it's like with, just investing in the stock market. It's like it becomes easy to buy Apple stock, right? It becomes easy to buy Bitcoin. So there's easy ways to kind of dip your toes in the water. It's like, you don't want any risk. Okay, then buy an S&P ETF and start there. Right. And then I do feel like I always feel like it's, you start to touch that stuff, and it's like, okay, fuck, like I want Tesla, like then you'll go buy Tesla stock, or you'll go buy, and it's just like, once you dip your toe in the water and you just start, and I understand it's money, it's risk. It's not like, you have nothing to lose. That's not true. But, once you start and you really dip your toe in the water, you can, alter your risk and alter the ways that you want to go about it. But it's really just when getting started, frankly.
I guess, Brian, yeah, you said kind of like closing statement or whatever. I guess for me, I try to look at everything just very holistically, very, very, big picture, like, where's this all going? And I think when you're talking with, again, people that are have a general understanding of finances and investing and kind of share the same general goal of like, one day I want to be able to save money. I want to be able to put aside what I have. I don't want it to waste away in savings. I want to try to invest in good, solid things, whatever. So that one day, I can retire early or I can have a good life, provide for my family, whatever your goals are, your reasoning, motivations, whatever. When we're talking about people that are decently educated and have a general idea of investing and like strive to do that, um, I think one of the things that is important is, uh, like kind of what Adam said, like just get started. And like if it's $20, if it's $25 of Bitcoin, like sure, go for it. And then just, kind of see what happens. Like not a big deal. Or if it's $100, whatever, that is. Like if you just do it and then you watch it and like, okay, it might go down, your $25 might be down, whatever, and it's worth, $10 now. And okay, and then it might go up and it's worth 50. And I think just starting that similar to, the stock market, just starting that and seeing that, it's like it only takes a little bit. And again, kind of my other general point, for that is when people have those goals and that's all you're trying to do is invest and kind of save money. It's like nobody wants to be the person that is in 20, 30 years like looking back and wishing that they had done something, right? And then at the same exact time, it's like everybody now wants to talk about like, man, all right, what's the next Amazon? What's the next, what's the next Facebook? Or like all it takes is that one. All it takes is like one or two things, right? Like if you just get it early and you buy enough of it, if you get it early enough and you buy enough of it, like all it takes is that. All it takes is that. And like, you consistently kind of find yourself saying those things. And then on top of it, with that being said, and then the end thing being like, okay, I just want to, try to invest and grow my money and then, see where it goes, whatever. It's like if you have both of those understandings, and it's like, why would you not put a little bit of money into this and then just see what happens? So.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, I think, we made some great points tonight, and it certainly was great, catching up with you guys in this venue to talk about it. I think, we've gone through, as we discussed in the beginning of this show and throughout, we've gone through, our own genesis ourselves with crypto having its uncertainties, and have certainly developed through that. And again, I think we've all got good intentions here, and the idea is we're just trying to help, even more so than maybe just spreading a stock, even if it's a good one like Palantir, Bank of America. I mean, this is certainly like a more grandiose revolution of sorts, right? And so,
Right.
It's great I think what you guys do for your peers is great. I'm that's biased in my sentiment, right? I think I'd go out on a mountaintop and tell people to help themselves here more so than these other markets. I mean, you're looking at how fast we're outbeating other assets in inflation over the course of just a 1 to 5 year period. I think it's certainly worth anybody's time. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of wrap it up there. Again, it was great talking to you, Adam, Alex. Thanks everybody, certainly for watching. Please come hang out with Alex and Adam and myself in the Constant Collab Telegram chat. Follow us on Instagram. Smash that subscribe button or whatever they're saying on YouTube these days. And thanks again for joining, and we'll catch you next time on Crypto After Dark.
Thank you,
Thanks
man.
for having us, man. Yeah.
No problem. See you guys next time.
Later.
Later.